The views, comments, and opinions of the following program do not necessarily reflect those of Morris Media Studios, MorrisMediaLive.com, or its affiliates. Listener discretion is advised.
My name is Kara Adams, and this is the Hidden Treasure not the Hidden Treasure Cancer Foundation.
Well,
see, that's where I'm going this morning. This is the Hidden Treasure podcast, and we talk about just everything. I love bringing in just real, everyday people who are doing amazing things in the community. And I feel like when you're talking to someone who you know is not putting on a facade, they're just being themselves, they're really being transparent, that there's a lot of there are a lot of lessons in that, and there's a lot of courage that comes from that. So the Hidden Treasure Moments podcast is really about giving a voice to everyday people who I've gotten to meet through my journey, my cancer struggle, through everything that I've gone through. And they're just really special people who have agreed to be guests on the show and to share their story. So this week, I have the amazing Carrie Madrid with the CARE Project, and she's going to tell us a little bit about herself. Now, I have to start off by saying I met Carrie at a cancer expo in Riverside, in July, just a few months ago. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we were like sisters from another mother.
Yeah.
Your fight is my fight.
And said something and you said, wait a minute. You're part of my tribe. I need to come hug you. And you got up from around the table and came, and I was like, oh, I love her. I know her already.
There's some really cosmic connection that I truly feel in my
There's
soul
like an
for
energy,
you.
Right? Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Don't make me cry.
Oh.
It's too early for that.
We're going to cry today.
No, I don't cry.
I do.
Oh, well.
All the time.
Shoot.
But if you would please, tell us a little bit about yourself. And you have brought this beautiful, amazing guest with you today that I can't wait to hear her story. But tell us a little bit about you.
So that's kind of a loaded question.
I know.
That's a lot. So I'm originally from the Bay Area. My parents split when I was young, and so I ended up moving down here at some point with my mom and my stepdad and my two little brothers. But I spent the bulk of my youth going back and forth between the Bay Area and the Inland Empire. Mm-hmm. And so I was married young, divorced young.
How young is young?
Just turned 21.
Yeah, that's young.
A month later, I was married, and then I had 3 kids. So currently, I'm 48, and I have a 29-year-old son who's married and has 2 babies.
You're not 48.
I am. And I have 2 grandbabies now. And then I have 2 daughters. And so I was married, divorced young, and ended up landing back in Southern California because it was cheapest to live here and raise kids. Mm-hmm. So plugging along as a single mom, surviving, little support financially. So I worked 2 jobs for probably 9 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And I landed a property management gig where I said to my mom when she was helping me secure an apartment down here when I moved back, I said, Mom, go find me an apartment. Just a 2 or 3 bedroom somewhere. She was like, where? I was like, near you. And so I moved into these little, not so great apartments, but they were convenient and cheap. And I said, I have this big, bright idea. It's kind of been a recurring theme in my life, big, bright ideas. And she goes, oh, what? I said, what if I could work my way up to manage this apartment complex? It was only 35 units. She's like, well, you're not married. You don't have a maintenance man. I said, I got Anthony. My son was 12. But he knew how to clean a pool because my stepdad taught him, right? And he knew how to change light bulbs for the old people or whatever. So we could do it. I said, then I could have free rent. And I could work my job. I'm fortunate enough to work from home for a major medical company. Well, not major medical. Catastrophic case management company. That's in the Bay Area. So when I relocated to Southern California, I said, I could do this job from a hole in the wall. Will you let me work remotely? Nobody did that back then. That was 18 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
But due to a lot of circumstances at the office, they were kind of in a do or die situation, as was I. So it worked for both of us. They said, temporarily we'll say you can work from home. We'll give you a letter that says that so you can secure an apartment, right? So that's how I ended up doing that. But so I said, Mom, I could manage this building. Then I'd have free rent.
Wow.
Well, a year later, I was the manager of that building.
You said it.
I said it, and it happened.
You put it out in the world.
Yeah, and I never really believed in that. But looking back now, every time I've done that, it actually comes to fruition, which is kind of creepy.
But exciting. Yeah.
I'm a believer now.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's taken 20 years of my life of that to really get it. But so, it's just plugging along. Single mom, 3 kids, sports mom, all that good stuff. And I was approaching 40. And I was kind of in the best shape of my life in terms of I was financially stable, getting by.
Yeah.
Bills were paid.
Yeah.
But my whole life revolved around my kids and their activities. And I was the booster president at North High School for the girls' basketball program where my daughter played. And my whole life was work and basketball. And I just said, man, there's got to be more to this. Because my baby at the time was in junior high, who's now 19, and I said, there's got to be more to life. Like, I love my job. My job allowed me to be at home with my kids and have benefits and not worry about my ex-husband, taking care of that. So I was walking up Mount Rubidoux one day by myself, and I was having this conversation with my creator, and I just said, what am I supposed to do with the last half of my life? There's got to be more than just surviving as a single mom.
That's totally a loaded question. Like, when we start asking ourselves that.
Yeah, I wasn't prepared for the answer. Because 2 weeks later, I rolled over in bed, and I thought I rolled onto, I thought I left the remote control in the bed or something. So I was like, what was that? And I have a queen-size bed. I'm single, so I always slept on the right side. And my kids would make fun of me and say, get on the middle. And I'm like, So this one night I said, okay, I'm going to do it. But I'm not going to go on the middle. I'm going to go on the left side. So when I rolled over in the middle of the night, I had to get up and use the restroom or something. I rolled over this way where I never would have before. And I found a huge lump on my left breast. And then I was like, okay, I'm losing it. That really wasn't.
Did you ever, feel your breast before then? Not
what?
like a check, but during,
No. Well, I mean, I guess. But the thing is this. 9 years before I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I had a breast reduction. So my breasts were very large. It's like the Madrid curse of the family. On my dad's side, all my aunts, my cousins were all large-chested.
One man's curse is another man's curse.
Exactly. So for me, it probably, my plastic surgeon and my regular surgeon had said, that probably saved your life. Because they were so large, I probably wouldn't have felt it before. But so I rolled over, and I just was like, okay, I'm tripping. Let me just use the restroom. So I stumbled back to bed. It was 2:30 in the morning. And when I woke up at 5:30, my normal time, I rolled over again, and I felt it again. And I thought, oh, crap.
This can't be good.
Cancer. I know it's cancer. I just already knew it. And I was like, don't panic. So I laid on my back. I did everything you're supposed to do for checking yourself, which I hadn't really done before. And because I wasn't 40 yet, or I had just turned 40, I hadn't had my first mammogram yet.
Wow.
Right? So I said, okay, let me do something about this. So at North High School, Dr. Angela Martin was one of the fellow basketball moms, and she was a physician at Kaiser. And so we were working snack bar, and I said, oh, by the way, as we're flipping hot links, by the way, I think I found something. She's like, excuse me? So she instantly became my doctor. We obviously did an exam and then instantly got into breast cancer. So that's how my cancer extravaganza began.
Now, this question pops into my head because, how did you tell, and because I want to say how I told people, but how did you tell people that you were diagnosed with cancer? How did that conversation go?
Well, I lived it very publicly because I was so involved with the basketball program at North. I had 32 basketball daughters that because I work from home and I work with a lot of East Coast clients, I always worked 5 to 2 so I could be at the school from 3 on. So I was at most practices, most scrimmages, everything, ran the snack bar. So for me, the day I got my biopsies, so Coach Leonard Deku was one of my best friends, and the other coaching staff was around. And so I told them, because I couldn't be at Snack Bar.
Right.
I'm like, listen, I got to go get this biopsy, but I'm going to be at the game. They were like, really, Carrie? Yeah. So I left the hospital with ice packs in my bra from my biopsies in pain, and I went back and I sat in the stands, and Coach's like, you all right? Just stay right there. Don't work Snack Bar. Okay. So they kind of knew, the coaches knew. So when I actually found out, I had told Coach first, after my family, obviously, and he let the girls know. But I had a complete peace about it. I remember getting my actual diagnosis from the surgeon.
Which was what?
Well, they didn't know the stage yet, but infiltrating ductal carcinoma. I had 2 tumors, actually. So I had one very large one all the way on the side, like down from your armpit, and that was pretty large. That was the infiltrating one.
Which means that it's gone outside of the...
Yeah, it's the most common and aggressive form of breast cancer. And then the smaller tumor I had, which was sort of lower beneath, was actually so small that they got it all on biopsy. But that was ductal carcinoma in situ. So it was encapsulated, basically, or contained, I should say. So my best friend just looked at me and she was like, she was with me when I got the diagnosis. She's like, how can you be so effing calm? In those exact words. And I just looked at her and without thought, it kind of blurted out of my mouth. And I just said, it's okay. And she was like, it's not okay. And I was like, it's okay. She said, how can you say that? And I said to her, I said, you know what? I have 32 basketball daughters watching me and my own 2 and my son and all his friends. And I said, 1 in 8 women are diagnosed. Yeah. There's 32 basketball daughters and my own. That's 4 of those girls could be diagnosed in the future.
And
so
them
they'll
seeing
always
your
be able
courage
to go back and watch me, and I'm not going to hide it from them.
Yeah, because breast cancer is not a death sentence. You
Absolutely not.
The thing about
Absolutely
it
not.
now is that it's just all about early detection.
Right.
It's about,
being aware.
Yeah.
I'm not in the, awareness, I hate that word sometimes because I think people have become desensitized to the word. But I think it's really just, it gave me sort of a platform to talk to those girls in a very casual way about just know your breast. It's not just a sexual thing. This is your health. So you need to touch your breast so that you know what's your normal.
Right.
Right? Because if you start teaching these young women and men in their teens what's normal for them, if they do come across something later in life, they're going to know it before anyone else.
Yes.
Before statistics and insurance says you can get a mammogram or an exam, they will have found their own.
Yeah. Well, what's crazy is like in my instance, my mother had been diagnosed with breast cancer. My grandmother had been diagnosed with breast cancer. My paternal grandmother had passed from breast cancer. Yeah. Like it was all in my life. And I know I've said, more than once that I didn't think if. I thought when. When am I going to get it? Yeah. And so it had been 8 years since.
Did you have genetic testing?
Yeah, and they say I'm not. What is it?
BRCA positive.
Yeah, they say because I'm hers too. Think of all the other stuff. I know. But they're like, you have familial history or whatnot, but you don't actually have the BRCA gene.
Right.
But what the doctor said is, have us check you once a year. Because, to have that much familial history.
Even though there isn't genetics, technically there's still. Yeah.
Right. There's still a chance that we'll find that whatever chromosome or whatever we're looking for.
That they haven't found yet.
Right. Yeah. That it'll
I never thought about that.
That it'll be added to the list because it was so much in my family.
Right.
But when I was diagnosed, it was really in my head, even though I had seen everyone else pretty much survive.
Right.
In my mind, it was like, oh my God, I'm going to die. I went the exact opposite.
Yeah.
And so it's
and so this is a classic example of what we talk about at the Care Project, right? Everybody's diagnosis. We could even be diagnosed with the same exact type, stage, whatever. Your mind and your body and your soul may react completely differently than mine. And there's no right or wrong.
Right.
It just is what it is.
Right. And so when I went, my husband and I, we had to talk about it. He had to we always say, okay, get me off the ledge because.
Right. Talk me down.
Talk me down.
Yeah. Bring me back. Yeah.
Because I'm going off.
You went all the way left with it. Yeah.
I was like, oh, Jesus, no.
Yeah. Yeah. But you know what's interesting is I was telling somebody the other day, they were asking, how did you handle your chemo and going through that? I was in a relationship at the time, and he just wasn't good in a crisis. And, bless his heart, he's gone now, but he loved me up until my diagnosis and through my mastectomy, and the next day he just couldn't handle it. And he just said, I can't. And I said, go do what you need to do.
Yeah.
And that was fine. And I'll tell you what, it was sort of a blessing, because I watched as I went through all of my surgeries and my chemo. I would be, specifically, I'm thinking of the infusion room with chemo. And I would be there, not alone. I'd have a friend or my mom or somebody would be there, but I didn't have a significant other, right? And I would see these other people that had a significant other, and they would be like a hot crying mess. And I was being judgy, right? And I was like, really? She's over there crying, but she's got a man that's doting on her. Yeah. I'm over here like, I got to go home alone tonight. And like, I'm mad about that, right?
That's real talk.
It is, but this is what's interesting. So an ex-boyfriend of mine, who's still a very good friend, lives out of state, and he knew what I was going through, and he said, let me come and stay with you for this weekend and take you to your 5th treatment out of 6, right? Let me take you to that treatment. And I was like, all right. He knows me better than anyone. I trust him with my life. Let's go. Well, guess who was a hot mess that weekend? Me.
You!
Because I could be.
Yes.
Because I had somebody that I could.
Yeah.
So looking back, I'm really thankful that I went through it single, because I had to stay focused for my kids and for all of the other kids that were in my everyday life.
And I'll say, like, whether it's cancer, whatever that thing is, that hill that you have to climb, we all have to make a decision.
We all have something.
We have to make a decision if we are going to step in and move through that door in faith, knowing that God has a plan for us, or are we going to crawl up in a corner and let life knock us down?
Right.
And so, like, after I had my cry, after I was like, okay, like, I got to figure this out now. Let's go. Let's do it. That's right. Because I had a 6-year-old.
Right.
I had a little boy who needed a mother. I mean, I love you, baby. I love you, husband. I love you, Troy. But like,
every kid needs their mom.
Yeah. Yes, he needs someone to hug him and kiss the boo-boos and let him sit on the lap. Stuff. Like, the mommy stuff. And that's like what clicked in my head. And it's funny, when I went into work, because, for me, work was everything. Work was my, it was who I was. It was how I measure. It was my measuring stick. Right. Like, I'm successful because of my career and my title. And so I remember clear as day, I go into the office, like, people had, few people had known, but my team didn't know. Right. And so I sent an email, and in the subject line of the email, I put, okay, Kara has cancer. Let's come in and talk about it.
Oh, well.
Like, that was like.
There it is. Come to my world of cancer, people. Yeah. But you have to do whatever you have to do. Because don't you find, like, when you're first diagnosed, everybody swarms around you. Everybody's like, oh, we got you, whatever you need, blah, blah, blah. And you feel this, like, you're wrapped in, like, comfort, right?
Yes, then, like this big loving hug.
Yes. But then as you start going through everything and they go, oh, look at her, she's so strong, she's handling it with such grace, they kind of fall off. Because we've talked about this before. Everybody else's life moves forward, and we get that. Yeah. Everybody still has to go to work. Everybody has their own families. But then you're left with this, well, what about me?
Yeah.
And
that's a really good point. And like, when we come back, we're going to go, we're going to go to a quick break. And when we come back, I want to kind of talk about that. Because, I almost had to mourn me being well. Like, I had to mourn, like, which is the craziest.
We were just talking about that on the drive down.
Yes. And, okay, please say hello.
Hello.
And your name?
My name's Diana Harige.
And tell us just 2 quick sentences, because I know you don't want to talk a lot.
I am the Secretary-Treasurer for the CARE Project, Inc., and I was the first recipient of the chemo bag when Carrie first started her organization. Whoa. And this was in December of 2014.
We have the same exact diagnosis.
Yes.
Just 2 years apart.
See, and that's how God works. He brings us together. Because it's all about the
Now I can't go anywhere without her. See, she's here, right? I'm like, I need you to go.
Well, when we come back, I want to hear a little bit more from you as well. But what I really want to talk about is that mourning, that craziness that happens when we're diagnosed as well, when we're diagnosed as being in remission.
I call it as set free.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And what that feels like. Yeah. So we will come right back. Please stay tuned in. Thank you. See you in a minute. Adams. I'm the author of Hidden Treasure. Hello, my name is Kara Adams. I'm the Welcome back. I am Kara Adams, and this is the Hidden Treasure Moments podcast. Today's guest is Carrie Madrid, and then also
Diana Harige,
and they're both from the CARE Project, and I absolutely adore these two ladies. And when we left off, we were kind of talking about, when you come back, when people tell you or your doctors are like, okay, you're in remission, yay!
Yeah.
But kind of that mental part that we don't anticipate happening.
Yeah. I describe it as, for so much of my life, I felt alone, so to speak, in survival mode. And then I got this diagnosis, which is supposed to be horrible. But for me, it brought all these people around me and made me feel so loved and supported, from family and friends to coworkers abroad to your medical team, right? So, if you get a cold, your nurse is checking on you, your doctor's checking on you, everyone, oh my gosh, take a blood test and where are your counts at? And you feel like, I always say I felt like a baby bird in a nest.
Yeah.
And then I had, a surgery, and then I had chemo, and then I had radiation, and halfway through radiation, I felt like death warmed over because I was depleted at that point. And I feel like at the end of that, they said, okay, well, go home and rest now. We'll see you in about 6 months, and then we can talk about maybe reconstruction or whatever. And I was like, that's it? Just go home. And I felt like I was that baby bird that was just pushed out of the nest, and who's going to catch me? Because now I'm going home to just me and my teenagers. And I felt so vulnerable, right? And you don't know, do I call the doctor when this hurts?
Right.
That hurts. And I think it was at that moment. And in all our survivor socials, when we talk to other survivors, they say the same thing. In that moment, the totality of everything you've just faced hits you, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
And for me, that's the only time that I went into a deep, dark place for a couple weeks. I plopped on the couch. I ate whatever I wanted with total disregard for my body, and I didn't care, and I was just I was in a serious depression for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then I went, get up. What are you doing? Get your life and go do something.
Yeah, and I always joke 2 weeks, girl, you're good.
Yeah. Mine
was a lot longer.
I didn't have any more time than that. We had basketball. Our basketball girls were making history that season. They were going to state. My girls one was a junior and one was in high school and one was in junior high. And we had proms and there was no time to sit and wallow.
Yeah.
And I was the only one there. I didn't have a husband or anything or, someone to say, oh, don't worry, I'll take him to school. I had to get up every day. But it was a struggle.
And I always refer to it as my I'm still standing moment.
That's it.
And it's when I recognize everything I've been through at
despite
that
it
point.
All, I'm still standing.
Despite it all.
Yeah.
I'm here.
I got the chills.
Yeah.
I know.
I got a smile on my face.
Yeah.
I still love life despite everything.
Right.
But it's I have never really articulated well kind of that transition from being Kara with cancer to Kara in remission.
Well, it's really you morph from this person over here to now you're this cancer patient to now you're the, post-cancer patient. But you're always a cancer patient.
Yeah.
And it's sort of defining what that is. And a lot of survivors I know get caught up in, well, I don't want to be called a survivor. I'm a thriver. And I'm like, well, that's great for you. But I don't always feel that way.
Yeah.
Sometimes
you slide back.
And to me, it doesn't matter what you call it. The point is we're here.
Yes.
And we all share that one common thing is we went through this. Even if some didn't have a mastectomy or some didn't have chemo, you still heard the words, you have breast cancer.
Right.
So it's all relative.
Right.
And it's how you deal with it. My motto was laughter and lip gloss.
Which I saw on your bio, and I love it.
I figured, look.
You need to write a book that says laughter and lip gloss.
Well, I started it.
Yay!
I haven't finished it. I haven't gotten past the first chapter. But I just, I had one vain prayer, right? I was like, okay, God, look, I don't care about the breast. That can go. I don't care about the hair. Like, I've had big 80s hair my whole life. Like, I'm good with not having to do hair for a while. But I was like, just let me keep my eyebrows and eyelashes, because you look like an alien without them.
Oh my, that's when I
did.
looked sick.
I did. I danced out at chemo, and I was like, yeah, I kept my eyebrows. And guess what? 3 weeks later, I woke up and they were gone. I was like, oh, wait a minute. I didn't plan for that. Yeah. Because, it was all bad.
Well, I remember, like, I had gone through chemo. It was like July. I was back at work, and I wasn't the same Kara. Like, people could
You're
see.
forever changed.
Yeah, that I wasn't the same.
Changed.
And like my expectation of what my purpose was in life completely changed.
Yep.
And like good enough could no longer be good enough.
Right.
Like, I couldn't go through the motions of going to work, of sitting down, of smiling at people that I know are dumb as a doorknob. Couldn't find their way out of a marketing paper bag.
Right. We were just talking about this with Lavetta.
Yes, exactly. And I gotta smile at you and act like, everything is okay. Yes, massa. Like, I felt like no.
Well, you know what happens? We found is like the group of people that we have a Survivor Social Club with the Care Project. So I didn't want to go to a support group. I didn't feel I needed it, right?
Yeah.
But I just needed to socialize with other people like you that just got it, right? So like, you want to go shopping at the mall? Not so much, because you know what? In an hour, I'm going to be tired, and then you're going to be mad, and you're not going to understand.
Right.
And so on and so forth.
Right.
Or no, I don't want to try on those clothes, because you know how hard it is to get in and out of this? You know?
Oh, yeah.
So, but we were just talking about our tolerance and our priorities are different. Even if you had your priorities together before, everything is amplified now.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good word for it.
It is. It's just different. We have a friend that just went back to work after a significant time off, like a year off, and she said, I just can no longer go in and go, yeah, that's funny, because it's not.
Right.
That made me think of it when you said that. I was like, so I told her, we have a code. We have a code now. I said, if someone is doing something, I want you to text me.
Yes.
Just SSS. And that stands for, she's so stupid. Right? So I texted her that morning, and I said, I feel like I sent my baby. So I said, I feel like I sent my baby to kindergarten. How are you back at work? You didn't cuss anyone out yet, did you? She said, no. And I said, any SSS moments? And she said, no, it actually went really well. I think it was all in my mind.
Yeah.
But those are things that nobody thinks about. Right?
But like, I had no tolerance for stupidity.
Right.
None. And so like, I would say things to my boss that I'm like, Kara, are you trying to get fired?
Right.
The answer was yes.
Yeah.
But like, it's like that level, that transparency. Like, I was reborn. I couldn't be the old Kara.
Right.
I couldn't do the things I did before because God had spared me, and I was a messenger, and I was supposed
you had to
be
do something
better.
different and better. And,
yes.
And I don't know what the word, maybe not better, but, just something that makes a difference.
Better is okay.
Right.
I mean, because at the end of the day, like, I'm not living my purpose. I'm not doing things.
You're surviving.
Yes.
So I always say it's interesting that we're given this title survivor. And I hold that with pride, right?
Yeah.
But it's interesting to me that I'm called a survivor because before breast cancer, I was literally just surviving life as a single mom.
I love that.
Just surviving. And now I know that I am living on purpose.
Yes.
And I am making a difference, and I'm leaving a legacy. So even if my kids don't always like me, when I'm gone, they're going to be like, Mom did that.
Yeah.
And it's not about me. It's about helping others. And this, let me say this, has been therapeutic for me. Because as I was going through treatment, I sort of organically ended up encouraging others without realizing it. So when I went into that funk, they were still reaching out to me. And I was like, okay, get off your ass and go back because you need to help them.
Yeah.
Because it helps you. And that's why I started the Care Project.
And I really, I think this is a perfect segue to the Care Project because I feel like no matter what it is, like I talk about cancer a lot because that's what I know.
Yes.
Right.
That's what I've been through.
Right.
Yes.
That shaped you.
Right. And it's helped me to get
Kicked you in your butt.
Right. And I call it my awakening.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I went through cancer and the treatments and all of that, I really had an awakening to who I was, what it took to make me happy.
Stripped down to your soul, I say.
Yeah.
From losing your hair and your eyebrows to looking at yourself in the mirror and you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
You have to really fall in love with yourself
Yes.
as is and have that awakening. I call it, I was refined by the fire.
Yes.
I was burnt to the ashes only to rise and to find
like the phoenix.
That's what you're supposed to do. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
There I go, whether I want to or not.
Yeah. And it's crazy because, like, I feel like that's the first time I really saw myself.
Yeah.
It's the first time I looked in the mirror, puffy and all, and thought, I'm beautiful. Like, I'm beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you think you should know that?
So I say this all the time. Like, at 40, when I was diagnosed, I felt like, hey, I look pretty good. You know, my hair is nice, whatever. Like, I feel good about myself. I think at 40, women finally
come into
themselves, right? And they really love themselves as is. But I was really taken from that to what I look like, death warmed over. And now I always say, I'm 45 pounds heavier now. And no, aesthetically, I don't look beautiful in the way that I did maybe back then, but I'm so much more of a beautiful soul, and I will take that every day.
Yeah.
And I will take that every day.
So much happier.
So much happier.
And I see the legacy that you spoke of.
Yeah.
You know, I see that I'm living that, and I'm leaving
You're
that.
leaving a mark.
Yes, and I'm doing something for the world. Like writing, when I wrote the book, you know, I have my book Hidden Treasure that I talk about every so often.
Yeah.
But like that was really my like legacy. The fact that I could do something that would be here after me.
Which is fantastic, by the way.
Anybody who's thinking about writing a book, don't wait until you're ready.
Yeah.
You write the book now because God will make you ready.
Yeah.
He'll do the rest of the work.
Kind of like when I say, I'm having a big, bright idea. And my board goes, what now? And I go, I don't know, but I think we're supposed to do this. Well, how are we going to do that? I don't really know.
Yeah.
But guess what? It lands in our lap because we're doing what we're supposed to be doing.
So tell us about the CARE project, where it came from, and like what made you take on such a big vision.
Well, I think, when I was on the couch for those 2 weeks in my depression, and I still had those people reaching out to me because I had met them either locally through treatment, but also through online private support groups within Facebook. I just popped on like, let me see. And I started kind of chopping it up with a couple ladies across the country, younger women, my age and younger. And so I found myself just sort of encouraging them, even though I didn't mean to. I'm all about perspective. So they're like, oh, this and that and this and that. And I'm like, okay, but I get it and I hear you, but think about this. Try to find that silver lining, because guess what? I had to find the silver lining to keep going. I didn't have anyone behind me going, whatever.
It'll be okay.
Yeah. So, and I didn't know that it was going to be okay. But, so I got off the couch and I started talking with them, and I told my friend Christina Gonzalez, who's not a survivor but helped take care of me, and I just said, we got to do something. I'm meeting these people online, and they're choosing between copays for chemo and groceries for their kids. And then they're choosing between rent, and they're like, I can't have my chemo because I need to pay rent, and my kid needs a prom dress. And I said, we got to do something. She was like, what are we going to do? I said, I don't really know, but we're going to start a nonprofit, and nobody's going to take a salary. Nobody. Because people see breast cancer charities, and they automatically assume that it should be what they think is a charity is. What I didn't know at the time was, it's a passion project, and yes, we're going to help people, and yes, we're all going to be volunteers, and no one's going to take a salary, but it is running a business.
Right.
And I didn't know that. I mean, I guess I kind of knew it, but I just dove head first and went, I don't know, but you're going to be my co-founder. And she was like, what does that mean? I was like, I don't know, but come on, let's go. We're going to do it. So we started it for the main purpose was to provide financial aid. As I looked around to help some of the people that I knew that were struggling financially, I was fortunate I had family that stepped in and helped me financially. But people don't have that. Yeah. And so I was like, let me do some research around here. And what I found was there were not, in 2012, any organizations around that did financial aid that would step in and just pay your electric bill for
without
1
you
month.
having to turn in all kind of tax returns and craziness.
Yeah, that you don't have time for, and you can't even see straight at that moment.
Right,
because
exactly.
You're in chemo. So I wanted to do financial aid, and I also wanted to start a survivor social club. So not your stereotypical support group. And I had no idea what that was. I just thought, my mom watches those Lifetime movies, right? And I would be like, Ma, come
Hallmark.
on.
Love Hallmark.
Right? Yeah. So they sit around and they cry, and I'm like, that's not me. I'm 41. I'm vibrant. I'm doing stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit around. And then I started looking anyway, just to see what was out there. And I found, like, knitting, like, what was it? Like, Sewing with Susie on Tuesday at 10. And I was like... Okay, when I work full time and I'm not knitting and I'm 40 and I don't know. Yeah. I need something on a weekend or an evening. And so it just organically grew. And now we have been 4 years, almost 5 years in existence. We've given out, I don't know how many tens of thousands of dollars in cash aid, another 15 to 20,000 in items such as chemo coats and care packages, and we've partnered with Lymphedivas for compression garments, for compression sleeves and gloves. So they gave us an incredible donation. Nordstrom's gave us mastectomy bras. So what I started to do, two things has morphed into So we're trying to sort of strategically plan and scale back a little bit and really focus on the financial part, because that's what's really missing. And we're also a mobile pantry with Feeding America now. So now we deliver groceries.
And people don't realize, like, even when you have insurance, the copays for cancer treatment are crazy.
Yes.
The copays, if you don't, like, if you have to pay 10%, because some insurance, you have to pay 10% until you get to the copay or after. Right. And, like, it is, it was just amazing to me. I had a family member who was going through it. And, like, we would buy groceries and we would...
I read that,
we would do things because, I'm like, how are we in this world right now where Big Pharma has been allowed to go so far out that we have to choose when we're that sick between food and medication to keep us alive?
Right.
Like, that's insane to me.
And we get those calls all the time. We get, elderly couples that are living on a fixed income, or young parents and students. We have 2 students at UCR who are patients right now. And, it's just that no one should have to choose between buying groceries and having chemo.
Right. No. And so how do people, anyone who's out there who's listening, like, how do they get a hold of you? How do they, how do they reach you, and how do they support? Like, if someone just wants to provide some gift cards or financially.
Gift cards are fantastic because we give away a lot of fuel cards to
like gas.
Arco and Chevron and whatnot. People just need to get back and forth to treatment. Radiation's daily.
Yeah.
So for me, working from home all these years, commuting wasn't in my budget. And I had to go to 5 weeks of radiation from Riverside, Ontario. Which isn't that far, but when it's not in your budget.
Right. And you're living check to check, which most of us are.
I was. And juggling. Right. So we do gift cards a lot, and even to like Target, where people can get everyday items like laundry detergent. Everyday necessities become luxuries when you're not working full time. So laundry detergent, paper towels, toilet paper, shampoo,
toothpaste.
All that.
Yeah.
Plus now at Target and Walmart, you can get groceries. So that's huge. We also are trying to drum up our monthly donors because we have a space that we rent, and that takes money. So our only overhead is the rent, the phone, our insurance, and that's it, right? Yeah, because none of us take a salary.
Right, so, we're all volunteers.
So we really need that monthly residual income to continue to keep doing what we do. Yeah. What are you two talking about?
I hear yes, we're all volunteers. Okay, your turn. We want to hear a little bit about you, how you got connected to the CARE Project. We know that you were one of the first patients.
The first patient. Right. I pulled into her driveway with this little humble little gift bag, right, with little gift cards in it and just little stuff. And I pulled in her driveway and I got the chills from head to toe, and I was like, this is my first patient or client. I don't even know what to call them, right? My first person. And I walked in her house and somebody was cooking and it smelled like my grandma's house. And I was like, I'm like home. And then she hugged me and I was like, oh, that's a wrap.
You're like, I'm done.
No, but then that's when we connected too, because she understood what I was going through. And because I was diagnosed in December of 2013. And they did chemo first for me. So it was from January to June of 14. And then I had my surgery in July. And then followed up with 33 treatments of radiation.
Oh, wow.
And
how old were you when you were diagnosed?
I was diagnosed at 59.
And had you been, like, how did you even...
It was a mammogram. Oh. Yes. And because I was going annually. And so, and I didn't feel anything because mine was a mass. It wasn't a tumor where it had borders. It was more open. And so... So when I went for my normal mammogram, and then I got, oh no, there's something wrong, but it's probably okay.
We all heard that.
Yes, exactly. So I thought, okay, well, and so then I went to have an ultrasound, and then the next day they called and they said, there's something suspicious. We need to have a biopsy. So, and I was planning a trip. I was going to London and Paris and Madrid, and we were leaving right after Christmas, like the 27th of that December. And then I had my biopsy early December, and they told me, you have cancer. So I said, well, I'm going on a trip. Can I still go on the trip? And they said they, advised against it.
So did you cancel it?
I had to cancel it.
Oh,
and it was
wow.
with RCC because they have their band was going to the New Year's Day London to play and do all these things. And then the King's celebration in Spain, they were going to play for that. And so it was a big deal, it was a big deal.
So you never went on that trip?
I couldn't go on the trip.
So we need to go on
Exactly.
that trip.
I was thinking the
we
same
need to go
thing.
on that trip. That's a girl's trip.
I couldn't go.
It.
So we had to cancel it, or I had to cancel mine. And then my friend Margie, she went on it and stuff, and so she would send pictures back. And
I'd be like, don't even send me a picture. I'm
Like, that's
salty
not
right
cool.
now. Like, don't send me a picture.
Exactly. You keep that to yourself.
Yeah, so I had a double mastectomy, and I had several lymph nodes removed, and but every day is different, and every day is new, and sometimes you're aching pains, and sometimes you're not. You're good to go.
Yeah.
And now, what did you think when you got the diagnosis?
I was nervous and scared. I was wondering why. Why? Because no one in my family has cancer, and
back then you didn't realize most breast cancer is not genetic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
like
exactly
over
right.
80% is not genetic.
So
But most people
I
don't know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So a lot of people always say, well, there's no one in my family's had it. That doesn't mean you're exempt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good
And I think too,
figure.
it's environmental. I
Yeah.
really
Oh,
do. It's,
heck
it's
yeah.
what we eat, and
Yeah.
all
Are you hot
that, all
flashing
that
now,
stuff.
too?
Yes.
It's great to come to these things when all three of us are survivors because we know if I start stripping, I'm just having a hot flash. Just go with it.
Exactly. That's exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not coming on to you.
Did you know about the Care Project before I showed up at your door?
No.
Yeah, that's funny.
no.
It's all a blur to me.
Because Jenny Marie, who is our mutual friend,
yeah.
and so she said, I'm going to bring someone over to your house. It's like, okay. And she's a survivor, and stuff. It's like, okay, that's fine, And that's the first time I met, and that's the first time I knew about her organization.
I just started
nonprofit.
it. I didn't have a clue.
Yeah.
I just started it.
Yeah.
Man, when you're in your purpose, the things you do, and the doors you're able to open, and the lives that you're
It's
able
amazing.
to
Yeah.
It's
affect.
really amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now
Absolutely.
I couldn't run the Care Project without her because we're the only two that are in the office every day. Because I work my full-time job still. I have to. I need benefits and a paycheck.
Right.
So I work my regular job out of that office. And then she comes in a couple hours a day and she answers all the calls and does all the intake. And she's our secretary treasurer. So we just had to actually hire an accountant. And
We're
it's
growing
been
up.
crazy.
It's what we're
growing
doing.
up. We're
We
actually
are.
running a
Good
business.
girl.
We
Good
are.
girl.
It's scary.
It's growing up.
If you're not
Scary.
learning, you're dying.
Yeah, I'm going to remember that. I'm going to remember that. Yeah.
So we're gonna take a quick break, but I've never had this conversation. What I'm getting ready to ask before, for like in a group setting,
Yeah.
but like physically and sexually, going through chemo and like what it does to you afterwards.
Yeah.
Like I really want to talk about that.
Let's talk about it.
Okay, good. So when we're going
Talk
to
about
come
anything.
back, we're going to talk about really the physical effects, not just mentally,
Right.
but sexually, what it
Yeah.
does to you when
Yes.
you go through
Absolutely.
chemo, when you go through cancer. So stay tuned and we'll be right back. with the Hidden Treasure Cancer Moment. I don't know why I keep calling it that. That's the second time I did
Well,
that.
maybe that's the title of this particular podcast.
Hidden Treasure Cancer Moment. Well, we'll just let that be what
we'll let
it
it
is. But with the podcast, my name is Kara Adams, and I have Carrie Madrid here with me today from the CARE Project.
Thank you for having us, by the way.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, this is fun.
Absolutely.
We could do this every week.
See? You're invited back.
Okay.
And when we left off, one of the things that people and your doctors that nobody talks about is what cancer does to you sexually.
Right.
And like if you're single and you're going through your cancer fight, if you're married and going through your cancer fight, if you just want to touch yourself and you're going through the cancer fight, it's going to take you about 2 hours to have an orgasm. I'm just saying.
You need the right tools, Kara.
Girl, I had a sex toy business. I got all the tools.
You got all the good stuff.
You don't know that about me,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
I had them all.
Oh, yeah, one of your businesses.
Yes, one of my 12.
Yeah,
One of
there
my
you go.
12, yes.
Yeah.
And so, that's one of the things I didn't realize.
Yeah.
And when my doctor said, okay, you and Troy, you're going to have to use condoms because during your treatment, you're going to be toxic to him.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Out of all the things I'm going through.
You're like, can I just have breast cancer?
Yes! My vajayjay is now toxic.
Right.
Like,
Right.
Like, in what universe is that okay?
Right.
And like, and they don't talk about it.
No.
And like, you become toxic. You become dry as the sea hare.
Right.
Yes.
Like, you could have spit on it and it would have just...
Yep. Salt and sea.
Somebody said it feels like it's glued. Somebody said it feels like it's glued shut. I was like, yeah, that'd be accurate. I'm never going to get a date after this.
Girl, that's what lubricant is for.
No, that's what Dr. Harris is for.
So,
Dr. Lita Harris.
I am going to call Dr. Lita Harris.
Yes.
But, tell us about the procedure because I am in awe. I had no idea about this.
Well, I asked her to come and speak to our Survivor Social Club because you go through all these different changes. Even when you're in chemo, everything changes. And then for me, my cancer was estrogen fed. And a lot of breast cancer is estrogen fed. And so for me, I ended up having a total hysterectomy. And so right there, your natural lubrication is gone, right? Just gone. And it's like, okay, this is not going to work for me because I'm 41 and I'm single. Like, hello.
Yeah.
So I stumbled onto Dr. Harris, I think through Jenny Marie.
Yes.
She's so involved in our community with health overall. So I reached out to her and I just said, tell me about this thing that you're promoting. It's called FemTouch. And so you hear these ads for, what do they say? Vaginal rejuvenation or something. She likes to call it restoration.
Because I thought that vaginal...
You think it's cosmetic, right?
Like it just makes, makes it
No.
better for him.
No.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that might, but this FemTouch specifically is to help bring back your natural lubrication. And so it's a laser,
only for cancer
laser
patients?
treatment. It's
Or-
for anybody.
Okay,
Anybody
okay.
who's having that issue. Older people, anyone who's had a hysterectomy.
Anyone who's
early
gone
in
through
life, anything.
menopause.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. So it's a laser procedure and it's painless. And you go in for a series of treatments. I think I had 4 treatments. The typical is 3, but the pH in mine was so high, which made it even worse, that we had to bring it down further. So she gave me a 4th treatment. And
Is it covered by insurance or is this out of pocket? And
out of pocket.
what's the price range for something
You know
like
what?
that?
You'd have to call Dr. Harris.
Okay.
But she does take care credit, and she will work with you. So I'm hoping that one day insurance will cover it because I would have never had this issue if it wasn't for breast cancer.
Right.
Right. So I paid for it out of pocket. I got on a payment plan and I paid it through my care credit, which I got for my dental work initially. Care credit is your friend.
Yes.
When you absolutely need it, it's a great way to finance something like this. So it's a laser treatment that essentially causes and I'm probably saying it wrong, but it causes your tissue to sort of regenerate, if you will, that then causes we'll have to call Dr. Harris but you get it.
Yeah.
So within the second treatment, I already felt my natural lubrication coming back. And when we say that, that's not just about during sex. That's about everyday life.
Every day.
Everyday life. and so people don't realize that.
Because without that, like, you're more prone to yeast infections, to all sorts of
and
stuff.
it's just uncomfortable.
Right.
Yeah. Even just sitting here would be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right? So within 2 treatments, I felt a difference. And I would say within 6 months of that, things settled even more. And so it's better. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
it's
now
never going to be like it was.
That's what I was going to, yeah.
But I do have to, she says, I recommend you come in for a touch-up once a year. Mm-hmm. So I've gotten your emails. I'll be in when I get some extra money. So, yeah, I'll go in for once a year treatment, like a touch-up.
Oh.
Yeah, totally worth it. It is an investment. It's your health.
Right.
It's
like,
not
it's
just
not just
a
like,
sexual thing. Or,
right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because it's very natural. Like, we're sexual
Absolutely.
beings.
Exactly right.
And, like, for Troy and I, baby, I'm sorry to tell you business.
Turn it off, Troy. All his friends are watching that, too. Careful.
Yeah. Oh, no. He's good. He's
Okay.
good. But, for us, it took me a really long time to have the conversation that, baby, it doesn't feel good.
It
like,
feels. Let me keep it real.
Yeah.
We just had this conversation in our social club. Mm-hmm. It feels like razor blade.
Yes. For me, it felt like sandpaper.
Yeah.
I've heard that, and I've heard razor blades.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was razor blades. I was like, yeah, that is not going to happen. So
No.
we have problems.
And I didn't want, like, I felt like.
And you feel bad, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I felt like I was going to demasculate him or make him feel like he couldn't please me anymore. Because literally, I mean, it took me a long time to have orgasm anyway. But like, it would take double. Like, if it would normally take me 20 minutes, like, it would get to the point I'd be like, babe, don't even worry about it.
Yeah, just stop.
Like,
I'm good.
you just do. Let's do. Just do you. Because
let's get
I'm
this
about to
over
catch
with.
on fire.
Right. And it's terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible. And then even afterwards, forget it.
Yeah, it's like you pee and it's
For
like
2 days you're on fire.
Good
and it's
Lord.
Like, good God, what is wrong with me?
Yes, could anything be easy?
Right. Again, can I just have breast cancer?
Just.
Maybe we should make a book about
I think that's
that.
good.
Just a little flip book, like just one
Can I
liner.
just have
Can
breast
I just
cancer?
have breast cancer?
We need to put one
Let's do
together.
that.
I think that's good.
Yeah, but it's like, and as
people don't talk about it.
No.
People don't talk
They
about
don't.
it.
And even like, Troy and I have a really good communication. Like we talk.
Right.
And so for it probably took me 6 months
Really?
to tell him that it didn't feel
Why
good.
do you think? Because we're about to have this discussion at the Care Project.
For me, it was because I felt like him pleasing me was a gift to him. Mm-hmm. It's really weird to think of it like that. Like, for me to be able to have an orgasm and to bring him in and to like everything and how it's feeling, it didn't just feel good to me. Mm-hmm. It felt like I was giving him a gift to show like this is what we can do together. This is how we can unite and how we can become one. Mm-hmm. And so when I couldn't do that anymore, I felt like I was taking something away from our relationship and that, that I needed him to know that he could please me.
Right.
And so finally I had to say, like, babe, it doesn't feel good. I think we're going to have to use lubricants.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it took I went to one of the cancer groups.
Yeah.
And it was like, I was asking, like, does anyone else feel like this? And everyone was like, girl, why are you having sex with no lubricant? Because your body is not the same.
Your body's not the same.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things that nurses and doctors don't really talk about.
Yeah, because if you haven't been through
they're in the business of saving your life.
Right.
They're not thinking about managing
saving your vagina.
Exactly.
Well, that too. But yeah, and that's the biggest thing you'll see amongst all the breast cancer entities that we collaborate with and know of and chat with. Survivorship is the hardest part.
Yeah.
Survivorship is the hardest part, from the emotional, like, oh my God, what did I just go through, to what? Now I got to deal with this, and how am I ever going to date again? Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. So we're hosting a thing, a Survivor Social this week, that's open to the public at the Care Project in the evening, and we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
What is sex and dating like, specifically for singles, right? Because it's one thing if you have a great, healthy marriage or a marriage that can withstand, and you have that where, what's it going to be like for me? I always say, I'm just washed up. I'm married to my work.
Close the shop.
I wouldn't say that. But what I'm saying is it would take a real strong, understanding, mature person to be able to deal with all of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
From the scars to the scar tissue to the spasms. When I move a certain way, like, no, you can't turn me that way because I'm going to get a spasm over there from the scar tissue. Like, it's all those things. And at what point do you let them in on that.
Yeah.
Right?
And even like the fondling. Like it's just everything is different. And
everything's different.
everything. Like my son will like hit me in the boob and I'll be like, huh? Like I don't feel it.
I don't have any
They
sensation
could be on
either.
fire.
Yeah.
And the only thing that would let me know is that finally something hot was happening.
Yeah.
Like I would have no
You're
idea.
like, oh, it's hot flash.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's that's true.
Yeah. And so I feel like we're going to have to do this again.
Yeah, we need to have a whole day talking
Yes.
about this.
Because I feel like we only touch the surface
Yeah,
Yes.
of like
absolutely.
what's happening and what's going on. And
Right.
so I'm going to invite you back. Maybe
Awesome.
you'll come back next month
Absolutely.
and we'll have a little bit more conversation about it
Yeah.
because I think it goes way beyond just cancer.
And you know what? It's not just the patient's issue,
right.
right?
Right.
It's the partner's issue as well.
It's community.
It's
It's your
absolutely-
job. It's
Exactly.
everything.
Yeah.
And so I want to,
Yeah.
number one, thank both of you beautiful
Thank you for
ladies.
Thank
having
you for
us.
having us.
Oh, absolutely. And
Give me a reason to get on.
yeah. And if you could just say your thank yous
Yeah,
and, you know, anybody who you want to thank for their support.
Well, I just thank all my family first and foremost for really funding the CARE project for the first couple years and continuing to do so now. All my volunteer board, including Diana, she's my right hand, my left hand, I can't live without her. We leave the office and then within an hour we're texting each other. I don't know what I would do without her. She's
Go,
like the
Diana.
sister that I never had, and she just keeps me in line too because she's not afraid to tell me about myself.
She's like, girl.
She's like, you're being snippy. Knock it off. I'm like, oh,
Bring
you
it
know that
back.
no tolerance thing. I'm like, oh, I just snapped at you. I'm sorry. But no, I just really thank everyone that supports us on a monthly basis financially because without that, we couldn't have the CARE Project. And we're making a huge difference.
Huge impact.
So our website is thecareprojectinc.org, and we're in Riverside. So
Our phone number?
phone number is 951-742-7405. And our Facebook is Hoppin'. So find us on Facebook and Instagram.
Absolutely. And Diana, is there anyone you want to thank or?
Well, you know, I mean, this has just become, like you said, a community. And it involves so many people and with good hearts and great intentions and wonderful donors because that's how we exist. You know, everyone donates to us. They go on a monthly basis and donate. They go on our website and so that's important. So everyone out there who is continuing to help us and help us with our birthday fundraisers too through Facebook.
Yeah,
And
Facebook alone, our fundraisers raised over $8,000 last year.
Oh, wow.
And all that money went straight to patients,
Yes.
helping them pay
exactly.
their
So
everyday
everyone that
necessities.
helps, however, I thank them.
every $10 helps.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
just the support, just sharing the CARE Project.
Yes.
You never know who needs it.
I'm going to add it to the link for
Awesome.
this show. And I just want to thank you both for all the
you.
amazing things that you're doing. I know for me, I have a couple of projects that are passion projects for me. One is my book, Hidden Treasure. And, you know, I really recognize what a good book it is. Like, it's
is.
hard
It
for
is.
me to say
It
it.
is.
It's awkward, right, at first, but you need
It
to own it
is.
because it is making a huge difference.
It
Yes,
is.
yes.
I told you I locked myself in, and I never sit still long enough. I have two speeds. I'm all the way or I'm knocked out. And I spent an entire weekend and I just read it and I was like, I feel like I know this lady.
2 days.
It's so, and like
'Cause
we
it's
talked
creepy.
about the other day, it's not just for women.
No.
No, this book is for singles, it's for married couples, it's for men, it's for women.
Yes.
Yes.
It's-
Well,
it's
thank
well
you.
done.
My goal, and I'm putting it out there, my goal is to sell 100 books by the end of March and to keep getting it out in front of people because I believe I'm going to change the world.
We're going to buy 10 for our Survivor Social Club.
So now I only got to do 90.
90. 90. Get on it, people.
Yeah, I feel like there's something about self-promotion that doesn't feel good. But if I don't believe in what I'm doing and what I'm saying,
We say that. We say that to our board. We ask our board. Our board contributes monthly, right? Because how can we go out in the community and say support us if we don't support us?
exactly.
And that was hard for
Yes.
me. Yeah.
Yes. And so I'm going to do it. If you don't
Same
like
thing.
that part of this, you could turn
it
the
off.
volume down.
Turn it off.
Yes. But if you want to change your life, if you want to live a life you love, if you want to find what your purpose and what your passion is, then buy the book. It's going to help you. It's
Right.
going to give you some vision.
Yeah.
You can get it on my website, which is just karaadams.com. Super easy. You can find it on Amazon, just everywhere you could think to buy a book, it's at. So please support the movement. We have the one-day VIP one-day VIP retreat. And the whole point of that is just to remind us that we are beautiful creatures. We need to take time to slow down and to love ourselves. And that's in May. And I'd love to see you all there. I want to give my thank yous. I want to thank these two beautiful women, Carrie and Diana, for for coming on the show.
I just call her DJ. Okay. I have like 3 Dianas in my life, so she's just DJ.
For coming on the show. I think what they're doing and what you are saying is so important. And it just makes me feel so good to be next to people who are living their purpose and their passion. Also, I want to thank the poetess. I want to thank Miss Felicia Morris for everything that you are doing. Just our conversation today just brought me joy and just helped to fill my heart. And that at the end of the day, we have to love each other. We have to support each other. Yeah. We have to do what's right and let people know when you lift each other up, you give just love into the world. I want to thank Marcy. I want to thank Gigi for sponsoring our program. And it's not just about, you providing resources or you providing finances. It's that you believe in the cause and the mission enough to support it. Yep. And that just fills my heart with joy and makes me push harder and makes me go through that brick wall even faster. Yeah. And then I have to say Troy and Truly, my husband and my son. I love you and I adore you and I recognize that I am better for being in your presence. You push me to be great and I love you and I thank you for that. And to every single viewer and listener out there, whether you give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, I don't give a damn.
And that is why I love you.
That ultimately you are getting something good from this because I said so. So until next week, I'll see you again on Thursdays at 10:30. You can catch us same place, same time. Bye.